Okay. Last one, and I'm going to start. What? What? Toda. Okay, so let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so I counted we are around between 25 and 30 people here in the room. So we're gonna start with a small riddle. So I want you to think for a minute, what are the chances that in this room of around 30 people, there are 2 people with the same birthday? And when I mean birthday, I mean the same, not the same year, the same day and month, the same date. I remind you have 365 days in a year. What are the chances that in this 30 people room, we have 2 people with the same birthday?
7.2%.
Wait a second. Let's wait and then we'll.
100% because you're cheating. You looked unnamely.
Okay, so I will add a disclaimer. In any 30 room people, okay. So who thinks it's less than 10%? Of Chris. 4 people. Between 10 and 20? 20 to 30? 30 to 40? 40 to 50? Anyone didn't vote so far? We have 3, 4, 5 people, not mad. 50 to 60? Okay, 60 and above? Okay, so some of you already got some hint of it. In a room of around 30 people, the chance that you have 2 people in the same date is around 70%. When you have 23 people in a room, it's already crossing the 50%. And when you have 41 people in the room, it's above 90% chances the 2 people will have the same birthday. Now, why did we start? First of all, we start with that to a little bit wake us up. We have 2 more lectures to go, but the message behind this exercise is that intuition, and this is not very intuitive, the results, that intuition, especially when you work with products and user experience, intuition is not enough to make the decisions around the features. What we as a product and everybody in the room, when we want to introduce new features, we want to back it up with data, with talking with customers, and this is the best way to get to the right results. Okay, so what we'll do in this session, I'll go through a few minutes about some terminology about UX. I will talk about microcopies. I will try to give you a sense of what I believe is a wow effect feature. We'll talk about default values, error messages, and UX and analytics. So first thing that people confuse is between 2 terms, customer experience and user experience. And those are 2 different things. I want to just clear it up before we go ahead, because we heard Shlomi yesterday talking about customer experience. We know people talking about user experience. So customer experience is how a customer feels about a company and a brand. It's basically the sum of all of his experiences in each and every touch point he has with the company. So in our case, for example, Zerto, it's the touch point when he goes to the website, in the POC, after he buys the product, when he uses the product, when he upgrades the product, when he calls support, each and every communication with the company, all the sum of this, each one of those is experience, and the sum of all of this is his total overall experience from the company. Now, user experience refers to the person feeling and experience when he uses the product itself, right? So when he uses the interface, when he uses the actual product, what is his experience, how he feels about it. So at the end of the day, UX is just a part of the entire experience. So that I wanted to clear out. Now, when we come to do user experience, we have some constraints because there are the user needs, but there is also the business goal and also the technology. And when those come together, this is where we can bring something. And we should hope that we'll have this intersection area the biggest possible. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. How many already familiar with that? Okay, so not all of you, but this describes some kind of pyramid of needs from the basic needs in life, and that only when they're fulfilled, you have additional needs. So as a person, the first basic needs is to have food and water and to survive. But when you have that, then you have safety needs, security and safety. Then you start to have intimate relationships, friends, and only one step at a time. So only when you have the basic, you can build the next layer and think about the next layer. In UX, there is something similar. So when you build a product, the most important thing is, first of all, that it will work as programmed, that the functional aspects. The next one is that it will be available, it will be accurate. Then that it will be easy to use, convenient. And then the top of the pyramid is something that I want to get more into in this session, is about making the product pleasurable and meaningful for the user. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about one aspect of user experience, which calls microcopies, which are small things that you put in the interface that makes a big difference. So basically, a microcopy is just small words, a text, usually that, like a tooltip, like the bottom text, that makes a difference in the way the user understand the application. So here an example. So this is from a form for a paying in an e-commerce website, that the owner of this website, when he saw that many people have failures when they want to purchase. And it took him time to understand, but they understand that when the Visa checks the billing address and it's not the same as in the Visa, it fails. So he added this small text here: be sure to enter the billing address associated with your credit card. And from that time on, his conversion went up, and people understood that they have to do that to proceed. Here's a very small microcopy. So many times when you go to a website, you see some text, and then you see, watch this video, right? So watch a demo, watch the video. Here, they added a small, very tiny length of the video, 2:25. So what it does is basically giving you as the user understanding of expectation of how long you're going to waste on it. And this can be the difference between looking at the video and not looking at the video. This set expectation with this small, tiny text. This is Tumblr, a microblogging service, and they took their settings and added under each one of the items a little bit description. Like, for example, you see notifications via email and mobile. So already when you're in the settings menu, before you drill down to each one of those areas, you already know what you're going to get there, and it can save you a click and save you time and give you more information. So when we use microcopies, the reason we use it, there are several reasons. One, it can be to provide unique brand voice, give you user direction, inspire good feelings, and also remove barriers for conversions, like we saw in the previous example. So provide unique brand voice. So this is SoundCloud, online music service, and this is their frequently asked questions page. And what they did, they just took, instead of writing frequently asked questions, they would help, I need somebody from the Beatles song. Yeah? This is to touch the user and have some feeling when they get here that this is related to the brand. It's not just another frequently asked question page. Here, an example of how you provide direction to user while he's typing the password. So many times you write a password and it fails and you don't really understand what happened. And here, while you click, it already gives you did one letter, you did 5 to 20 characters, so the only thing is that it doesn't match the password. So while you type the password, you already get understanding what's missing, why I'm not building the right password yet. And in many websites, you don't see it, and then you try, and then you start thinking, did I need a capital letter, did I need a character? Okay, I can skip that one. Another example is to inspire good feelings. So this is a nice example of a restaurant invitation, reservation of food. So they try to give it some humor in it. So Chef James is now chopping up fresh veggies and meat for you for the meal. Next step, you will hear that Leslie will wrap your food and get it ready for delivery. And Mark will be delivering your food. So every time you pass a step, while you're waiting for the delivery, you get this kind of a nice personalized message. On the right side, another type of humor is like when you did a successful operation in MailChimp, your mail was, rock on, your email has been scheduled. Or high fives, your mail is in the send queue and will go shortly. So you can also use this type of small text to add some humor, some, again, around the feeling part of using the product.
There's also a downside for this, right? If you're annoying somebody.
Exactly, so you need to do it the right way. So especially when you go to the humor part and things like that. And again, this is like similar to the billing example we saw. So you want to fill a form and they ask you a phone number and no one likes to give like the personal details. So they add a small thing that, why do we ask your phone number? We ask your phone number just in case we need to reach you for any reason regarding your order, blah, blah, blah. So, and this increased the conversion rate. So you feel better, you feel more safe, you provide it.
What do you mean by conversion rate?
So the converting is meaning to pass this part. So you are in this form and some users will stop here and say, I don't give the phone number, I'm not going to, I'm stopping here. And when you talk about conversion, it's the rate of conversion, the rate of people that will pass this screen. Okay, so, and for most of the examples here, you see this is an example of someone that has to make money. This is the way they make the money. Another example, they ask you here to connect with Twitter, but they give you this, we promise not to auto-tweet, spam your friends, or auto-follow our Twitter, follow our Twitter account. So they give you some information to help you proceed. The same, this is Twitter. So Twitter, we will text a verification code to this number. We will never display your phone number to other Twitter users. You feel better in sharing your phone number. Airbnb is a very interesting example. The story about Airbnb, I don't know how many know the full story. There's two designers that were broke in, I think, LA, and there was in the town a conference, and all the hotels were booked. So they decided to rent a room in their house, right? And is there anyone here who doesn't know Airbnb? Okay. So they obviously started the sharing accommodation business, so they were the most successful, but they were not the first ones. So the question is, how they become successful? So one of the biggest challenges in this business was that when we are a child, our parents tell us, don't talk to strangers. And the stranger bias, they had to solve this challenge. So how did they make it? How did they make someone have someone sitting in his home on a house, and you go and sleep in someone else's house, right? It can be a psycho. You want psycho sleeping in your bedroom. So they had to solve this problem. So they did it in many ways. So obviously they did, as I said, in many ways. One of the ways that they have a recommendation of hosting. So every time you host, you get a recommendation. Then you can look and say, this guy, this host, many people slept and said it was a good experience. So that's reassuring. But what about the other way around? How the host can know that someone psycho is not coming to his house? And one of the things they added when you book is also a sign, kind of micro copies that we're talking about, this text to push you to share a little bit about yourself, why are you coming, and give more information for the host to accept this booking. And they use a lot of this kind of design tricks to skip the barrier of the stranger bias, this bias. Tinder. Anyone doesn't know Tinder here? Okay, so yeah, you don't know. Okay, so Tinder is the app that you see, the guy see women's photos and he can swipe right if he wants to meet the girl, swipe left if he's not interested. And the same thing for the girl. The girl swipes right if she wants, swipe left if she doesn't. And when they both want to do it, both say yes, then they get into a chat room. Okay, so think about it, it's like getting in a bar. You see someone, a girl, she's looking at you, you're looking at me. And then what is the challenge here? Like in the bar, who starts to talk? How you have the courage to start this conversation? And what they did nice is at every time that you get in this chat, they randomly pick one of those different sentences that push you to act. So in the end, we only regret the chances we didn't take. You will never meet 100% of the matches you don't message. If you don't ask, you will never know. This is kind of, it's like your friend in a bar telling you, go start with this girl. Go, this is exactly that. And this is only with the usage of few words in the chat of this application. And again, they weren't the first dating app, right? These kind of small things that you add to your experience makes the difference between how the user eventually is using the app. Okay, so a lot of examples. Let's just stop for a minute. So where do you use microcopies? Where do you use this text? So there are plenty of places in the UI to use these tooltips or push to actions and those texts. Here is a list with a confirmation message, an error message, and 404 pages, and even empty states, which we just added something in the ZCM UI to not just keep an empty screen when you have no data, you put something for the user to experience. Here's an example from the loading screens. Now, loading, everybody knows that you expect a fast loading, but sometimes it takes longer. We don't have takes 5 seconds. So for example, look at Slack. Slack is a business communication app, very popular. Every time you wait these 5 seconds, they give you like a sentence to read. The mystery of life isn't a problem to solve, but reality to experience. You just spend 5 seconds reading it, and you go to the page. Others give you more information while it's loaded up, right? So they give you something to experience while you wait. Even in PlayStation, when you wait for the game to start, they give you a practice while it loads. Error pages, you all know the 404 ugly page that existed for a long time every time you miss the page. Now, they give you something more friendly. We're having trouble, sorry, it was a glitch. This one, we've practically looked everywhere for the page you're looking. We didn't find it, and they use this page. In addition, give you, so maybe you looked for something else, and they give you a list. Contacts us. Yeah, look how different this feels when you go to what you know as a 404 page to something like that. You feel much better about it. Okay, so I'm going to skip some of the examples. So let me sum this part. So microcopies, it's the little words and phrases that enhance the experience. When do we use it? To provide unique brand voice, direction, to inspire good feelings and remove barriers for conversion. And where do you use it? Basically, across the interface where it fits. Now, everyone in this room can contribute to, in our interface, in ZVM, in ZCM, everywhere we have, can contribute these things. So when you're in a QA and you play with the UI and you see something not clear, maybe a small text will help to make the user understand it. And it's not only the product or someone. This is everybody's job when you have an opportunity to enhance. This is very easy to add to the application. Right, Evgeny? OK, now I'm going to, yes.
I don't want to spoil the party, but isn't it a slightly different target audience?
The business?
What examples you gave are applications that are used by the wide audience? Well, if you give me something like that in a product like the ZVM, I don't know if I'm a common example. I would get irritated with most of the stuff.
OK, so I'll give you the example. We already added the microcopy in the ZVM, so I'll tell you people about it. When you get to the ZVM and you need to create a VPG and you want to choose a VM, customers were asking, why are some of these VMs disabled and I cannot choose them? And there are like three or four reasons. There is a knowledge base article that explains all those reasons. So we added a very short tooltip saying, I don't remember it exactly, but some of the VMs may be disabled, you want to know why, press here and you get to get to the understanding. So think.
Another example is the checkpoint. It's not the latest checkpoint.
Right. Yes, there's another example. So it doesn't necessarily have to be humoristic. You just have to give a relief to the customer. It has to make the customer, there is a friction in his experience. He is stuck. He wants to choose a VM. He cannot choose it. You give him the explanation. This came up after many, many customers send this question over and over, why don't I see it? And this also prevents that. And as a user, you don't want to be stuck. So there are examples how you can use this also in a B2B application. It just maybe need to be phrased to IT rather than others. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about what it's my definition of wow features. I will show two categories of those. Wow is, if you go to Wikipedia, you see impress and excite someone greatly. So let's see if you will agree with me after I show some examples. So I don't know, most of the people here are young, but this is not something that still exists, I believe. You have a car, you're driving, and then you have the light of the fuel turn on. So when the first time it happens, you look for the first gas station in the area and you fill the tank. And then after a few times, there is a case that there is no gas station nearby. You start to feel a little bit the panic. And you start looking and looking and looking. And eventually, you drove 20 miles and you get there. So the next time it happens, I have 20 miles, right? You have another benchmark. So you push it. Some people push it too far, right? But every time you feel this a little bit scary. Now, in recent years, the car manufacturers added this one. I don't know how many already have that in the car. When it turns on, you also have how many kilometers you have to get to the gas station. So you feel much better. I know how much time I have. It's not just I'm in trouble, I don't know when it ends. Now, what is this? The problem with this is that if you think about it, it's not accurate. Because if you will sit in your garage, turn on the car and sit there all day, you don't need to drive 70 kilometers. You completed the fuel, right? So this is not necessarily accurate, but this is a kind of a forecast for you that gives you some certainty that you will get there. And this type of the categories that I'm going to show is kind of a smart estimations that they give you with small kind of improvements like that. Another thing, you come to write an email. You put the first, this is in my iPhone, I put the first two names, and they start giving me a recommendation of who are the next people that you can add without even typing their names. Now, is this always right? No. But is it valuable for me? Yes, most of the time it is. And every time you see something like this, how do they do it? This is the first thing that comes to your head, and then usually you figure it out very fast. So they look at my other emails, they see that this is the type of groups, so they give it to me. Another example, so Waze, you wake up in the morning, are you going to work? Get out of work, are you going home? Right? Now, maybe I'm not going home, right? Yeah, I'm going somewhere else, but most of the chances is that I'm going home, and they just save me to go and put a few clicks to get to put that as a destination. So again, this is not accurate, but it's correct most of the times, and that's why it's valuable for me. I feel this is a cool feature. I don't know if everybody agrees. Obviously, all the recommendation systems, and you see more and more these kinds of recommendation systems. Netflix built their business around it. They offered $1 million for people that they went outside and asked from developers, whoever can improve the success rates of my algorithm will get $1 million, and it happened. They got the money. And you see this almost everywhere. You see it in music, in YouTube. You see it in news. There are two big companies in Israel, Taboola and Outbrain, that recommend you more articles to read after you read some. And again, it's not accurate, but if it's mostly accurate, it's a great feature. Now I'm gonna, so I like these features. So in the last ZertoCon, when I was there in May, customers complained that they don't know what is the size of the journal, and they don't know how to, they don't change the length. They don't increase it from 1 day to 3 days, but I don't know how much it's going to consume. So I was sitting with Tamir and tried to think about what we can do. And basically, we built this page, not yet just a concept, not approved anyone. Rob, they haven't seen it yet. But basically, it says, Chris is here. Basically, it says that if you choose a recovery site, London, and you choose a resource type, the storage of you wanted to manage the storage, we can tell you today how much is the journal. You choose the 4 hours journal, how much it consumes, and you will be able to play with this button to change the length of the journal, and we'll forecast for you how much it will consume this change. Now, there could be an easy way to do it, just to multiply, right? For a day, 4 hours, just linearly. But since we are going to collect history of your experience, your journal for a week and a month, we will be able to even create it more accurately. And again, these are kind of features that can create a wow effect for customers. We already know there is some need for that. So these kind of smart suggestion features that are aimed to help the user, but we cannot guarantee their success. So what's important about with this feature, that it does have value when it's right. It's clear to the user that it's a guesstimate, and it's correct most of the time. So we also need to be very careful when you introduce such features. But when it works, I think it's the magic. It does some magic for the user. OK, I'm going to go to a second category of wow features, different ones, which is functional animations. So animations in general, we all know it's like a fireworks in the application. But functional animations is something that is animation that serves a functional purpose. It has a logic behind it. So for example, what you see on the screen, you see animation, but it also gives you information. There is a new email. This is, whoever has iPhone knows this one. So you put your passcode, and you see the shake of the asterisks before they fail. No one writes you wrong password. No, not anymore. You just get a node in the head, no, shake, the asterisk shake, it's the wrong password. This is again, functional animation. Another functional animation to show you when you're loading something. This one is the example when it failed. Hope the second time it's success. So it gives you some information of the process. This one, so this is a status, gives you a status of the application. You don't even need to hear the phone ringing. It gives you in an animation. This is another example, but this is a little bit different one. This is an animation to serve a brand. So you can see this is a yacht app, but they use animation to highlight the product strengths with this kind of animation, not exactly a functional one. Look at this one, how the icon change after you use it. So this is used usually to show that when you just press played, but now what's the next action? You're already in a play mode, so the pause is the opposite one. So they play with animation to show you how you can move between the states. There is another example of animations when you need to go to the details level. So a thumbnail that you need to go to detail view. You see this also in many places already. They use it for more information. Here, for example, is what is animation that is not functional. So this is animation just for animation. It's very nice, right? You see things are moving. But after a while, if it doesn't serve a logic purpose, it will start to be annoying in many cases. This, you can enjoy it at the beginning, but probably after some time, it doesn't serve the purpose. OK, so again, I'm going to sum the functional animation parts. Animation brings the user experience into life. You just felt it. But they need to serve a purpose if you want them to provide some value to the user. OK, So we are moving to a different topic. You have, okay, I'm moving to a different topic. How many people are familiar with this? Seen it before? Okay, cool. Okay. So what you see here on the screen is the percentage of organ donations in different countries. So for the Israeli people that sign EDI, how many people are willing after they die to donate their organs? So you can see there are a group of countries on the right, you see, that have very high percentage, and group of countries on the left with very low percentage. Now, just try to think why that happens. So usually the first thing that comes in mind is maybe a cultural difference, right? But then you look, and you see that you have on the left side Germany, on the right side Austria. On the left side you have Denmark, on the right side you have Sweden, right? So it doesn't feel like a cultural difference. Okay, so why does this happen? Very, very simple. On the form to sign the donation, the countries on the left have checked the box below if you want to participate in the organ donor program, and they don't sign and don't join. And on the right side, check the box below if you don't want to participate in the organ donor program. They also don't sign, but they join, right? And this is why you have this behavior. And this behavior comes because of the fact that people don't like to make a lot of decisions. They like that this will be chosen for them. And this brings us to this part of my session, which is about default values, the power of these default values. When you set your system with default values, you should expect people, most of the people, to keep it as it is. This is from our analytics data. This is the journal history time, which is set in 5.0 to 1 day. And these are all the new VPGs created since we launched it. And you can see the 1 day where it is and where is the rest. And by the way, many of the rest are POCs. So when we define those, again, these default values, we'll have to think about how we do it. We need to choose the right ones, because when you get to a system, you expect that if you got it, this is the best settings. This is how you learn from it. And people prefer not to play with it if they only when you get a little bit more advanced. Okay, these are also some reasons. So these are default values. How is the time? What? 25 more minutes. So I'm running pretty fast. Now let's talk a little bit about error messages. So this is a Windows error messages. Now, how do you feel when you get this one, right? Few more examples, right? Your mail could not be sent. Okay. Unable to check for update. Okay, so writing a good error message is very important. And this relates also to the microcopies that we talked about before. This is ZVM error messages when the most popular one is at the top. So what do you see at the top? An error has occurred, contact Zerto support. This is like the most popular error message we have today. Okay, and if you continue to read, you see that others not much better. Basically, I expect like each one of the QA, the support, everyone that has a flow gets to this to open a bug. We have to fix this, right? Because this, when you as a user get these kind of messages, the experience is not very good, right? Okay, so how do you write good error messages? How should good error messages look like? So a few rules. First of all, it's good if there will be a human, not a machine type of error message. Look at Firefox. I'm not saying, again, for Ori that it has to be exactly like that. You need to adapt it, but it has to be coming from more human than like a computer type of messages. Well, this is embarrassing. We are, again, sorry for that to happen. The error message also has to be helpful. So you need to explain why it happened and how do you recover from it. So we were unable to match the user ID and password you entered. Please check your entries and try again. So give him what he needs to do next. Again, the humorous part, some can use it, not always appropriate, right? Depends on the severity of the error. If it's too, if you cannot recover, you don't say, oops, yeah?
Or he will be right there to fix your VRAs.
And never blame the user. Always take the responsibility. It's our service is unavailable. We are sorry. We're working to fix the problem, etc. Okay. And the best error messages are the ones you can prevent. For example, when you today pair a site, you can put in the port characters. And then you get pairing site failed, check the IP address and port. We could, even before, validate the text box and make sure it is a port for characters, right? Or 5, I don't know exactly. Can be 5, can be whatever.
Maybe 4 or 5.
4 or 5.
I had a question, though. I wasn't counting. I had a question. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Somewhere in here, I do have a small brain. I say that because I've never tried to break that form, because
Okay.
I know how IP addresses are formed.
Okay.
Are you telling me that this whole time we have not validated those form fields?
This is I got this as a bug 2 weeks ago. That's why it's in the presentation.
Who made that form? Are you in the room?
You should say, well, embarrassing, right?
No, but there are a lot of examples like this, not necessarily this one, that you can, before, prevent this error message, right? Yeah, but you could, someone else can say, who will put here characters, right? So maybe they never experienced it. But again, this is very easy fixes in our system. Okay, so I did go pretty fast because I'm close to the end. The last topic is the UX and analytics. So basically, it's how we use the data, like you showed when we showed from Google Analytics, and to make a decisions. This relates to the starting point of this lecture, talking about the bias, the intuition, not to count only on intuition. So when we started developing the Zerto Mobile, and we designed it, we thought, what are the use cases? And we thought, 2 use cases. User gets in, it's green, gets out, everything good gets out. User gets in, there is a problem, starting to look and reading around. This was the intuition. So what we wanted to do is say, if this is the case, why don't we give him push notification when it's wrong, and when everything is good, he knows that it's good because he didn't get any notification, and then we save these entries. The problem was that our alerting system is chatty and not very easy to categorize, and we were afraid it will be just spamming him with a lot of alerts. So we had to rule it out and go and start this way. Okay, so a few months passed by. We have a little bit data on how they use the application. And what you can see, these are the session duration of every entrance, how many screens they see. And what you can see is that the vast majority of the sessions are between 0 to 10 seconds or 11 to 30 seconds. And in the first one, you can see they usually see around 1 screen. So what do we learn from that? Yeah, people get in, see everything looks good, get out, most of the cases. This is like this gives us enforcement to the intuition we had. So what can we do about it? We just said notification, difficult to add. It doesn't sound like the great experience to get in just to see everything get out. Not so fun. So what we are going to introduce very soon, around I think in a month's time in the application, is widgets. So for those of you in iOS, this is like how a widget looks like. Those with Android, it's a little bit different. But this is basically a small part of the application living on your screen, on the main screen, live. So this means that our users will be able to see this part with only the information we believe is important for them. So the status, average RPO, but this will be live all the time. They won't need to get out, get in, get out. It will just be there. So this is just an example of how we take an assumption, check the data, also talked with some customers, and come with even with very small feature, but a little bit enhancement to the experience. And with this, I basically finished. So if you have any questions on what I talked about, that's the time. And this is also, how do you say it? Introduction, or a spoiler to what will be here in the next lecture about analytics. Okay, so any questions? Yeah.
I know that we need to fix our error messages, but can you say something about our customer feedbacks about the UX in the ZVM?
Yeah, so
ZCM?
yeah. So our user experience in general is great. Why? Because it's very simple and it does things that other competitors cannot do. And the failover is great in terms of the UI. There are a lot of things that are very good, and we have a strong differentiator there. It's not, we heard it all those 2 days. It's true. But what I've shown here is that the little things that are a little bit irritating, the little things that makes the customer say, is this really enterprise grade? Are these really professional or a little bit amateur? How is this is like, I don't know how to say it, Bashel, how do you say it?
Sure.
This is mature enough product for now when we are going to attack the biggest customers. And basically those fixes are low-hanging fruits. It's not something big. It's just, you see it, you open a bug, we fix it. It shouldn't be too much hassle, and it's a different, like, you improve the experience. Now, many customers will, when they encounter errors, they won't call you for that. You don't call for support when it's not exactly what I experienced. Then they continue if they will next time able, but it does impact their experience. It does impact the feeling they have about the product. Okay, so those minor changes can improve it significantly, I believe.
I would just add that I'd say with Steve's company-wide objective this year of Net Promoter Score being above a certain number, that encompasses a lot of factors. CX, right? But UX is a part of CX, as you showed, so that can certainly that could be a big uplift to whatever that Net Promoter Score ultimately is when it comes out. So
Yeah, I believe it will be high, right? Any other questions? No? So thank you. That's, I mean,